Hello, my name is Jonathan Hai, and I want to speak to you tonight about the Cal Poly Pomona semester switch. Imagine that you have lived in a city for your entire life, and suddenly you are forced to move to another neighborhood. Now, obviously, the implication of that means you've gotten used to one place your entire life, and now you have to get used to a new system, get used to new people, and get used to a new lifestyle in general. In the same sense, the switch from the quarter system to the semester system is going to change and affect every student who goes to this school, apart from those who graduate this year, of course. So you guys get off lucky. But other than that, the system that we currently have at Cal Poly Pomona is based with 3 quarters split over a year and 1 quarter split in the summer. So overall, optionally, it would be 4 quarters of classes to take. I want to address the issue of how the quarter system will fail to benefit Cal Poly Pomona because many students will end up being impacted by the loss of class time, as well as the switch itself will cost a great amount of money to Cal Poly Pomona to implement, due to the cost of infrastructure and the cost of the actual switch itself and staffing. As well as that, students will end up learning less each year and will end up paying more to attend Cal Poly Pomona as a result of these implications. So to begin, the switch out of the quarter system to the semester system will end up costing Cal Poly in terms of money. As we all know, the budget in Cal Poly Pomona is already facing issues with tuition, where the tuition has been rising for the past 5 years. And according to the CSU Bakersfield Chancellor Horace Mitchell, the cost of CSU Bakersfield has estimated that they will spend $3 million to switch from their current quarter system to the semester system. Cal Poly, also a CSU, will probably face similar costs. Similar costs in proportion to that, we are a larger school as well. As well as that, the time spent reworking classes requires a substantial amount of work from our staff, which are already currently overloaded with work of their own from classes. So this time is being diverted towards something that has already been working for the past 4 years at Cal Poly Pomona in our semester system, which we have implemented since Cal Poly's start. As well as that, actually no, never mind, I already said that. So the students will be learning less each year. The main emphasis on this issue is that students who are in the quarter system have 3 quarters of classes to learn from. But in a semester system, they will only have 2 semesters of classes to learn from, meaning that they will take 2/3 less subjects. Meanwhile, you can argue that they will be learning more in each of those classes since they will switch to around 15 weeks per each versus the quarter system's 10-week classes. You can argue that they will receive less knowledge in total from having less classes to begin with. Because in the quarter system, we have an ability to learn more from the more classes that we're allowed to take. But in the semester system, as other CSU schools have already experienced, students are not able to take as many of those classes, so they will end up having to either cut from GEs or cut from coursework. As cited by CSU EB, or the California State University of the East Bay, the average coursework, the average courses deducted from each major, it was around 5 classes, as cited by their newspaper, the Pioneer. And following up on that, students will end up paying more to attend Cal Poly Pomona because of one fundamental reason. The quarter system versus the semester system, as I explained, allows students to take more classes. But when you reduce the amount of classes a student can take, that ends up leading to students needing to take more classes to graduate. And on average, many students already do not graduate in the 4 years as the college program, which is hence a 4-year college, is intended to, as cited by the Pioneer newspaper at CSUEB. 40% of students take 4 years to graduate. Meanwhile, the other 60% take 5 or more years. Not only that, but failing a class in a quarter system versus a semester system will be worsened because in a semester system, you have to retake 15 weeks of a class, instead of in the quarter system where you only have to take 10 weeks of a class. That will substantially increase the amount of time that students, especially those who fail classes, which is an unfortunate circumstance what many end up doing. as well as that, Cal Poly's educational value will decrease in both quality and diversity. Because the amount of classes that we will take will end up decreasing by 2/3, we will not be able to take as many additional classes that we would like, such as personal development classes or electives. Majors with larger courseworks as well will also have material that spans more time. So in proportion to that, many students will not have the ability to take classes because they won't have any extra room for that. Overall though, I talked about why the switch out of the quarter system to the semester system will fail to improve Cal Poly Pomona, because it will both cost a monumental amount of money to both students and the school, and will affect the quality of learning that students will have at Cal Poly Pomona. Thank you.
And once again, I'm going to encourage people to take out the question that they put in front of their proposition. How is not required. Just the declarative statement would make the argument so much clearer. You do have a preview of the supporting points. They're not necessarily numerically listed in the preview, but it's lost time, cost to implement, and that we're going to learn less and pay more. Okay, so I got a good idea about where you're headed there. I think you could, like I said, signpost those a little bit more clearly, but I thought that you did okay on that, except that when you get to the body of the speech, then that's not the order in which you present them. You start with the cost issue first, so it's a little bit out of sequence with the way you set it up, and I thought that is a little problematic. After that first label, though, everything else just seems to be randomly coming out, and I don't think that you follow the structure that you set up. Some of the issues do come up, but there's not much transition between those points, and there's frequently not much evidence on those points either. I think you need to develop a lot more information to support the position that you're taking. The notion that students are going to learn less because they're down on the number of classes might, you know, I think that it probably ignores the way the classes are going to have to expand, and the fact that you probably will have to take fewer classes because you'll be covering more material in the classes you have. Classes, especially that are in sequences, will probably change dramatically. I would imagine, for instance, foreign language classes or maybe English classes that are developmental classes, that sort of thing, if there's a sequencing on those sorts of things. And the same thing with math. I assume that it would just be condensed into the classes. Your assumption seems to be that we're going to keep the same classes and people will just have to take more to get to them. And I don't think that that's the case at all. One of the reasons I don't think it's the case, and that you don't believe that either, is because you pointed out how much work it's going to be for the staff to have to kind of reorganize and restructure what they're doing. So there's got to be some outcome of that. By the way, it's a little confusing to me. If education is going to cost more because of this, how is the school going to lose money in that situation? You've got an inconsistency built into your argument between the first point that you've got and one of the later points that you have. It sounds to me like it's a profit deal all of a sudden if we're increasing the price and we're doing more. Maybe that's the reason that we're doing it in the first place. What I didn't see is any demonstration that there is a significant difference between student outcomes or student costs between schools that have a quarter system and those that have a semester system. That's, I think, the information that's most obviously missing here. The notion that there is a difference seems to be predicated merely on the familiarity that we have with the system that we're using here and the discomfort that comes from having to change to that system without necessarily knowing why it's worse. So you make a reference to Cal State Bakersfield, for instance, and they apparently had to make the change recently, or I don't know, maybe they're making the change simultaneously with us. But are there schools that have changed from the quarter system to the semester system? What were the financial ramifications? What was the impact on graduation rates? What was the impact on costs? I didn't see any information about that. I just saw some speculative assertions on your part, and I think that that's problematic. You need, I think, more detailed information on those particular points. You do a nice job speaking to the audience. Like I said, there was one place where you did have some statistical evidence that talked about, how long it takes people to graduate, but there wasn't any reason to believe that that was attributable to whether it was a quarter system or the semester system. So I think that that's a little bit problematic. You just kind of make the inference that it's going to be a consequence of switching over. I don't know. And you've got the hypothetical of retaking a class. Boy, it's going to be 15 weeks instead of 10 weeks. Well, it's 15 weeks that you failed before, so why is there a big trade-off? It sounds like it's the same amount of time one way or the other. Okay, thank you.